in 2014. So it's actually a bit of a windy story, right? No Cinderella story, but I got lucky to get into Stanford, went to Stanford. I started the Stanford Bitcoin group in 2013. And then I was just like, man, Bitcoin's going to change the planet. I just was obsessed with it. So I dropped out of Stanford to focus on crypto in 2014. And about a year in, I was like, building this crypto wallet and trying to convince banks to work with me. And I'm just like, this is awful. So why don't I, and then I realized that there's this checkout problem that no one had built. I'm like, if you build a checkout company, it could be super important. And I started building checkout. And Bolt was built with blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, it was a very hard business to build, but we just never gave up.
How old were you?
I'm 27.
Were you when you started?
I started Bolt technically when I was 19.
Incredible.
Yeah, so just don't give up. I think Bolt was supposed to have died about 4 or 5 different times. We just kept going and kept building and raising money. In 2014 was totally different. It was much harder than raising money now. You couldn't it was harder to get as much funding as we needed to reach escape velocity. And this is a very technical, it was a grind.
Wow. So you had to build it and they will come? You adopted that kind of approach?
Yeah, we built it and they definitely didn't come. So I built some stuff and yeah, just now we're like, how do we get customers? And selling into e-commerce companies is notoriously very difficult. And so I couldn't figure out, none of my investors knew these e-commerce companies we were trying to sell into. I couldn't network into them. So I just started calling them. And I spent probably a year of my life doing 200 cold calls a day. And that's how we got our first 30, 40 customers.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Now, where's Bolt today?
Bolt is, killing it. We have, almost 850 merchants on the platform. We process billions in GMV, which is gross merchandise volume, online sales. We have, we're 700, 800 people, and we have just an amazing future ahead of us.
A hand for Ryan, guys. Listen, we've got a lot of things to cover tonight.
Great.
One of the things we're going to talk about is the mob. But we're not going to talk about this right now. We're keeping that for later on so that we cover other more relevant things for you guys. Ryan, what are your habits, rituals, and routines that you recommend to founders for the maximum productivity and maximum fulfillment?
Yeah, so this is a key point. Success doesn't happen by accident. I mean, some people get luckier than others. But for me, the success with this company is entirely due to, I believe, my work ethic. And that starts with with the routine. So for me, mindfulness, groundedness, eating super healthy. I don't exercise in the traditional sense, but I love to do yoga and dance. And so, for me, staying super grounded is very important because I want to feel, so I'll give you a little backstory of how I came to this realization. But, there are some well-funded companies that sprung up on us that were just basically cloning our product, right? And they're funded by, the mob. And I realized that I was, not fully taking care of myself. And I'm like, I need to just ensure that I'm going to win. and leave nothing up to chance. And so I started with my routine. I'm like, if I'm clear-headed and I have no distractions and I'm focused, completely, then I'm going to win, right? And that I started doing that, and we started winning. And so that my personal journey, which I could go into more details of my routine and how I stay healthy, that has been the number one driver of success for Bolt.
Do you have an executive coach or someone that guided you in forming your routines?
Yeah, I've had a few different coaches. A good coach is worth their weight in gold. But I've also had bad coaches. I've had coaches who run the course where, they're helpful, but then you kind of stop learning from them, right? And so I found some of the most effective coaches to be actually folks that aren't traditional business coaches, but are like from the mindfulness community or are spiritual healers who you could talk to about things in a way that's kind of not like, I've just found there's a lot of bad business advice out there. And there's a new way, I believe there's a new wave way to build a company, right? I've tried to document and write about it as much as I can. And if you're getting advice from kind of old thinking business folks, you might get some good advice or some nuggets of wisdom, but it'll kind of lead you in a weird direction. So it's, it's a balance of where you get your advice from.
Has this informed this whole conscious culture that and the movement you've spurred?
Yeah, it has. I couldn't get any good information on how to build my company culture, right? And so I've written about three things, right? Three things you need to do in building a company. You have to, raise capital, you have to recruit great people, and, you have to build a great culture, right? And if you do those things, that will create great product. That will create a great sales team. That will create but those are kind of the three core essentials. So that's what I've spent my time focusing my writings on. And so some of you may know my fundraising book. There's a second book on recruiting. And then what less people know about is conscious.org, which is our conscious culture initiative. And so this addresses the question, how do you build your company culture? Because there's very little good information on that topic. And I found that the best way to build a company culture, and Bolt has some of the best employee satisfaction ratings, best place to work awards. Like, we're an incredibly accomplished company culture. Like, people love working at Bolt. And so, there's people who try to say a lot of negative things about Bolt. They can never find anything about our company culture because it's stellar. It's not perfect, but it's like really strong. And it's scaled to now 800 people. And so we developed conscious culture. And so conscious culture is about bridging execution with humanity. So there's some places that are, they're great at executing, but they're not necessarily a great place to work, right? And there's some companies that are a great place to work, but they're not necessarily so good at executing, right? And so if you had to choose, you'd probably be in the former bucket, right? You'd probably want to be better at executing, but ideally you'd be good at both, right? There are those rare companies that are great places to work, but are also really good at executing. And so conscious culture is how you're intentional with your employees and you're like, hey, you got to perform if you're here, right? There should be no confusion. You have to deliver results, right? But if you do, we're going to treat you with a very high degree of respect, right? We're going to give you regular feedback, but we're going to welcome feedback as managers. So there are always mechanics to kind of deliver that mutual respect, create that humane environment. in a high performance culture.
Is the whole 4-day work week part of that, or is that tell us
It is, yeah. So 4-day work week was developed off of a basic insight, which is I think that most work is what I call work theater. So it's people pretend working, basically. And so most of the work that takes place in corporations around the world is entirely wasted work. And it's like 1% of the people that are actually having impact, and the rest that are just looking good, right?
or staying till 5 p.m. or whatever,
yeah.
what have you?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I was just like fed up with this because it was, happening at my companies. And I'm like, all I care about is results. I don't want to hear how much you worked anymore, how much you slaved on this, that you did nights or weekends. I used to take pride in that stuff. And then I found it was very destructive. Like people were burning themselves out and they weren't delivering results, but were telling me how hard they're working. I'm like, I don't care how hard you're working. Like you're not delivering results. I don't care if you worked, and most of the time, I actually wanted them to work way less. Like they were just significantly overcomplicating things because they weren't thinking about the outcome. They're just thinking about how to make their work look the most impressive. Right? So I'm just like, let's do a 4-day work week. Like that will force people to be more thoughtful with their meetings. It'll take them out of this kind of zombie-like cycle of kind of always being burnt out. Let's show up for 4 days. Let's work like lions, right? Let's go on the hunt. Let's crush it, and then let's have a great 3-day weekend, and then come back ready to crush it again.
Are you guys? Do you have an office here, or are you working remote, or what's your
It's
setup?
been all remote since COVID.
Wow, 800 people, all remote.
All remote, yeah.
You intend to stay that way?
We'll probably open offices again, kind of shared workplaces. Not required to go back to the office. I think those days are over. Yeah, 100%.
We need more of this guy on the front row. That's awesome.
And no one wants to go back to an office again. I don't want to go back to an office again. It would be miserable. So, thank you.
Well, listen, we've got some questions on Twitter. Remember the hashtag Bolt Questions? So we got some questions, and here's a question. It's actually from someone you know quite well, Yasmin. She goes, "You once tweeted Miami is the future. Can you explain?" And then a cat emoji. Whatever that means.
Yeah, I love Miami. So I'm biased. I was born and raised in Miami, so it's home for me. I think Miami and the good parts of San Francisco have a lot of similarities. Like this room, it's great energy, good people, like social. And so, but I think there are a lot of not so great parts of Bay Area, right? Like there's kind of weird VC culture. There's, yeah, it's, there's,
Well, let's talk about that. Then. Maybe this is the right time to talk about everyone's.
I'm always happy to talk about that topic.
Yes.
As people know, is one of my pet peeves. So.
Yes, one of your passionate topics.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us your thoughts on the mob.
Well, when you are here long enough, you start to realize that there are certain people who hold the keys to a lot of power and capital here. And so if you're, aligned with them, they give your company a lot of power. If you're not aligned with them, they could crush your company. And so, I just decided to point that out.
But so
basically,
if you were the godfather of the mob, how would you have done things differently? I mean, capitalism is all about, greed, right? Win at all costs. It's the jungle out there.
I mean, there are things that other companies do, but even though I'm a self-interested business owner, that I never do, right? Like I don't call investors, tell them don't invest in these companies. Like I don't like ask for company information and then use it to build products. But like these types of behaviors are par for the course. Like it's seen as good business out here. Like it's seen as being a savage, And like I would never do any of those things. And if I was a VC, I invest like I I wouldn't be trying to box out competition. Like I think there's just a lot of this vicious behavior that is just unnecessary and lame and, is very short-sighted.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, very good. So that brings us back to the whole notion of culture that you've built in your company. And now
So we got to talk about Miami. Yeah, so so Miami's awesome. One of the things I like about Miami is it's very culturally diverse. Here there's a bit of a tech monoculture. Miami, you meet people who are not in tech. So, I think having a diversity of people around you is very helpful when you're building a company. Because building a company is a process of creativity. Like the old school notion of how you profit, I don't think applies today because all of the old school business models are taken, right? Like the rent seeking, like old fashioned, go run this market, own this market, box people out, that type of stuff. There are people way more powerful who are owning all of those opportunities. You have to go after super creative opportunities, right? If you can be more creative than anyone else, you can create your own opportunity. But there aren't really any kind of easy opportunities for the taking. It's all about creativity. And so what I found is, surrounding myself with diverse people, creative people, artistic people, helped keep me creative. Versus when I was here in San Francisco, I was having like the same conversations over and over again. And that wasn't helpful to me. So it was helpful in the beginning because like I had so much to learn about tech. So it is helpful to be around other people in tech. But it's also helpful to have a diverse friend group.
So you'd say Silicon Valley really helped you at the start of Bolt? And
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. So that would you continue to tell brand new founders be here initially?
Yeah, I think be here, get your startup off the ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Work hard, and then but all the while make sure you have some things that you do to keep up your creativity. Like for me, folks might know I love to dance, love dance culture, dance community. So that was a great creative outlet for me.
Yeah. And fun fact, Ryan is also pretty good at freestyle improv.
We'd love to see that.
That's right. Yes. I've seen a glimpse of that talent. Awesome. All right, we have a whole bunch of other questions that are still coming here. So here's another question on Twitter. All right, what is your outlook on the future of mobility space and investments in that area?
Man, I don't know anything about mobility space, so I think you should just throw a blockchain on it. Call it a day.
And as a VC, I dig this response because a lot of founders are going to start going on and on, but sometimes there's a lot of power in saying, I don't know. And that's it. And that's authenticity is one of the things we look for the most. I'm sure you as an investor as well and as an entrepreneur, that's probably one of the things on top of the list there.
100%. Yeah. If I know something, I'm going to tell you that I know it, you know? If I don't know something, then I'll tell you I don't know it.
What made you want to write the fundraising book?
What was that?
What made you write or want to write a book? Which, by the way, is narrated by Ryan. So I have the pleasure of listening to him every time I go on my bicycle because it's my audio.
Yeah, if you want an hour of this voice telling you how to fundraise, the book, the audio book.
It's really incredible. Yeah.
So it started off, I believe in demystifying things is like generally just a good thing for society. So fundraising, there's like a process you could run where it works. And so a lot of the founders that I knew were best at fundraising didn't want to or have the time to demystify it for the next generation. So I had always been coaching founders. Like, I love giving back. That's really just motivating to me. And so I was just giving the same advice over and over again on calls. Like, I was saying the same things. And so I finally wrote it down and created a Google Doc and started sharing it with people. And then everyone's like, oh, can I share it with just one other person? And so it started to kind of get a bit out of control. And someone's like, you should just like maybe make this into a book. And I'm like, that's a great idea. So I did a little bit of editing and made it into a book, called Fundraising.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book.
Thank you.
Your second book is the recruiting book. Are you intending to write more?
Yeah, tell me what you want me to write. I mean, I've learned I learned the hard way on how to do some things. So, if you guys have any topics, let me know. Scaling? What is? Oh man, you just gotta survive. That's it. Yeah, scaling's a good one. The problem with scaling is it's not a big addressable audience because there's not too many people who make it to that stage, And then founders who know how to scale are willing to help founders who are going through that challenge. You can get good mentors, but it's the early stages where there's not a lot of good advice or mentorship. So that's why I was focusing on that, but it could be a good one. Scaling. What else? What else do we want to? Mentoring. Mobility. Anxiety. That's a good one. I should write a book on dealing with anxiety.
I think what will have the most amount of impact, that's beyond just the tech community and business community, the internal journey that you went through.
Yeah.
All right, because the whole world now, especially a lot of the young people all around the globe, they don't have opportunities, they're stuck.
Yeah.
So, if you could provide that hope for them of that internal journey and all the technology that's available now, so they can basically take advantage of the global economy, that would have huge impact.
Okay, you got it. I agree. 100%. No, the inner journey. That'll be my next book. Maybe I just
mental toughness.
Mental toughness. Yeah, maybe a book on just like mentality. How to what?
Well, let's see, as a founder, the highs are high and the lows are low. So how do you get out of those lows?
Okay, so a couple tips on how to be a badass mentality. The first one kind of simple thing that you can do to win is not want to win, decide you're going to win. Just make that decision that you're going to win. And don't let anything in your way, whatever your goal is. Right? You want to build a company that does X for the world and have it be successful, just decide that you're going to do it and let nothing get in the way of you doing that. It may sound trivial, but that flip in your head is very important. and how to be kind to people along the way, but also give no fucks. Like, just, yeah, there's too much.
Hashtag.
Yeah, give no fucks. Like, just fucking go for it.
Yeah.
And when you're shameless, there are a lot of people have a problem with shameless people. Like the New York Times. And
Well, let's talk about something more fun. And here's a question from Darius: do you have a signature dance move?
No, it's a different event. That's a different event. We'll do a founder dance party. Next time, invite me to a dance party, or we turn this.
All right, here's another question. What's next for payments and Bolt?
Yeah, so Bolt, let me give everyone a quick overview on what we do at Bolt, because it's important. So we are a checkout company. And hey, can we get some quiet in the back there? Just let's, What was that? Yeah, maybe simmer down back there. So we do checkout. And we're not a button. So there's, the PayPal button, Apple Pay, Google Pay. There are all these buttons below checkout. And what I realized is nobody ran the core checkout experience. Right? Everyone was building their own checkout flows themselves. And so we're the first company to really do checkout as a core product. And so we have what we call our checkout operating system, which helps merchants run their transactional stack with no code, right? You implement our operating system, we integrate payment methods, alternate payment methods, loyalty systems, shipping, tax, whatever you need. And then we also create a one-click network. So as people go through checkout, they create an account. That account is global to a network, not just saved at that merchant site. So the goal is, we're going to end guest checkout on the internet. Just the more merchants that sign up, use us to run their checkout, the larger the network of shoppers becomes. And so, when we get to hundreds of millions of shoppers, it's game over. We're at just shy of 14 million shoppers today, and just are launching more and more and more merchants. So.
And that's a network effect.
And that's a network effect, right? So if your business can unlock a network effect, that's a very powerful moat. And so you're going to want to think about that when you think about your business, right? What is your product going to do that's going to be very hard to replicate? And so we have a few, right? We have a very hard technical moat where you can have a large engineering team trying to replicate us. You're not going to be able to. It's going to take you a very long time, right? And then we have a shopper network, which, the more checkouts we have, the more shoppers join our network, the higher conversion goes. And so you want to think about this with your businesses. What moats are you going to have to withstand competition? Right? Like, we've had some kind of very public competitors that were well-funded, backed by powerful folks who, went out of business. And that's because we had these moats. And so they ultimately just weren't able to compete, even though they had great talent, great money, great funders, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic, which aligns quite well with our thinking at Transform. Is we want to see 2 out of 3 things, ideally all 3 things: deep technology, which you guys have; network effects, because as soon as you innovate, there's going to be 100 copycats, and unless you've got compounding defensibility, something that makes you stronger over time, then people will catch up. And then the last one is the 10x advantage. You just got to be 10 times better.
Exactly.
Otherwise, people won't leave what they got to come and use you.
Exactly. So, it's a great point. You have to think about these things, right? Like, and this was what comes with the creativity as well in thinking through your business. Creativity is so important. It's not talked about enough, but it's super important.
How can you describe your routines from the early days, or kind of call it year 3 and 4 from today, where it's a big company, well funded, you've stepped down as CEO, you hired someone to do the day to day. Just walk us
Yeah.
through your thinking there. And I think a lot of these insights were provided in your recruiting book, and I thought it was brilliant. Is you used to take pride in writing code, which I'm sure you can still do today if you want to.
Yeah, it's true. So a time check. Should I tell these people to quiet down, or should we let them go? What do we think? Hey guys, can we quiet down in the back there? If you're gonna talk, just like go outside or something, but not in here. Or yeah, go to that room. Thank you. Let's go. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. So what is it? What were we talking about?
We're talking about recruiting and when you start bringing people to do things that you were otherwise doing.
Yeah, so, I've loved writing code, but that doesn't scale, obviously, right? So, one of the best moments that I had was hiring somebody that wrote better code than me. And I'm like, this is amazing, So I didn't take any pride in like being the best coder, which was what I was on track to try to do. I'm just like, this, people are way better at this than I am. And so that's when I learned the power of recruiting. And so today at Bolt, I have an unbelievable execution powerhouse executive team. And I'm in a place where I have 0 direct reports. Right? And so that was, an 8-year process. It didn't happen overnight, but I hired the best people on the planet, and one that was so good that they were better at running the company than I am. And so I promoted him, Maju, from CTO to COO to CEO. Right? And I have no shame in that. Like, that is something I take immense pride in, that somebody this exceptional, wanted to join, and, I recognize his ability to scale, and he formerly ran all global logistics and fulfillment at Amazon for almost a decade. And so, it was just like, I got the company here, he's the guy to take it here, and I just get to focus on my superpower. So, the only way you can scale a company at this pace is with attracting great people. And the only way you can attract great people is you have to, you have to be compelling, right? You have to be a compelling person. So I found that there's 4 traits of compelling leaders. And this is a book called Winning from Within. So it's stolen from that. But the 4 traits are: 1, warrior; 2, visionary or dreamer; 3, thinker; and 4, lover, or, having empathy, right? And so, if you're just a warrior, but you have no empathy, right? You're just kind of working for a machine, right? But if you just have empathy and you're not a warrior, then people are just going to be too emotional and mushy, and people are also not going to work for you. And so the tough thing about leadership is you have to find that balance, right? And you have to be a visionary, but sometimes you need to stop talking about vision and you need to just execute. Right? And so weak leaders anchor too much on just one quadrant, right? They're just a warrior, or they're just a thinker, or they're just a visionary, or they're just an empath. And the best leaders have strengths in certain areas, but are able to play to all of those. And I think about those 4 quadrants a lot.
Wow, that's incredible. What's the name of that book?
Winning from within.
Winning from within, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. All right. So, all right. My
It's
last.
the book's too long. I didn't read the book. I just someone told me about that section. I read that section. It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's great. All right, we've got an itching question from the audience, and there's a movie coming out about Ryan Breslow. Who should play you?
I don't know. I don't know names of actors or celebrities. I have a terrible I have a terrible memory for useless information. Like, I don't know anything about pop culture at all. Maybe I should. Maybe it's not so useless. I mean, it's maybe very relevant, but.
Awesome. What's next for Ryan?
I am working on, making sure Bolt's hugely successful. And then I'm getting hands-on with projects that I believe could change the face of humanity in a very positive way. So, something can just make money. I'm very disinterested. It's got to be something where, like, if this exists and is successful, it like helps the environment or helps society in a material way. So things that have to do with the environment, health, or crypto, which I think is going to save us all. So those are 3 buckets.
Wow, incredible. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Oh man, my constraint is my time. I mean, the problem is founders would just come to me so much. I had to write the book. The book wasn't, because I want to help. I want to help so much. So I'm trying to think about more scalable ways to help. That's why I wrote the books and started Conscious Culture Foundation. So first things first, if you haven't read the books, have to read the book. And if you haven't read the playbook on conscious.org, you have to read that playbook, read the stuff over and over again. There's a lot of deep wisdom and stuff that works in that material. And then, reach out to me. Shoot me a DM on Twitter. I can't guarantee I'll get back to everybody, but it doesn't hurt to try to reach out.
That's right. Ryan Breslow, thank you so much. Wonderful having you. And thank you, Yasmin and Aboud, for organizing Founders Village.
Thank you, Yasmin. One other quick thing. Riot runs an epic VC firm called Transform. I believe he's actually transforming VC, which needs to be transformed. He has a heart. He cares. He cares about society, impact, and I think is a great example of the types of VCs you want to be partnering with. So thanks for doing this with me. Thank you, Yasmin, who's just amazing energy, put on this amazing event, brought all this knowledge to so many people. The energy here is so inspiring. We need more stuff like this. And go fucking kill it. Woo-hoo! Now you can talk. I won't yell at you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much to Ryan Breslow and Riot for doing such a nice fireside chat. I think we didn't even realize we've been in this fireside chat for 40 minutes! And thank you so much for everyone for being an amazing audience. I just wanted to add something. When Riot asked Ryan that what is the best way to get in touch with you, I know Ryan was being very humble. I sent a message to Ryan on Twitter saying that will you come to Founders Night? And he was like, yes, let's go, I'll come over. So thank you so much for coming over. I didn't even know you would read my message, but I sent it anyway. So before we take a group photo, I wanted to give a very special shout out. I know this time we got a lot of emails saying that why this is a secret location, and we kept saying a secret location for about 20 days. That is because Broadway Studios has existed here for like about 100 years, but it closed down during COVID. And they opened for the first time for Founders Night in 2 years. And they've done an amazing service. They've done an amazing job opening it up for us, especially on such short notice. So if you can go to Google and give them a good review, that would be amazing. And I know, 5 stars, please. And now I would like to request you to come over here and we'll take a group photo and we'll see you over there because our cameraman was over there. So let's come one by one and we'll make sure that, we all somehow manage to come here. We can sit here, stand here. All right. All right, that's awesome. Already looking good. Where's okay. All right. Everyone. Okay. Okay. Some people can sit down. Some people can sit down. So we can have everyone in the photo. We can have more people here, I think so. Yeah, let's okay. Is everyone here? Okay. Is everyone in the picture? People on the sides? Okay.
Where's the official camera?
It's over there. Can you guys see? Can you wave? All right. Where we were looking. Okay. All right.
Give it a second.
Give it a second. Yeah.
Up or down?
Practice your smiles.
Upstairs, over there, everybody. By the exit.
By the exit sign, everyone. We for village. 1, 2, 3, go.
Go.
Cheese. Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3, go.
Upstairs.
Done? Are we good?
Oh, 2 cameras.
Don't forget the things.
Are we good? Woo! Okay, back to the party, everyone. Can we have the music on, please? Awesome. Let's take a picture with Ryan. Let's take a picture with Ryan.
Oh, you have to make sure he leaves first. Okay, just make sure.
Okay. Where's the cell phone? Where's my cell phone?
I got it.
No, I want to take a picture with him.
We have to make sure he gets his dinner on time, so it's very important.
Thanks, Ray, for hosting this.
Of course.
And I heard some impact as well in there. Not just some earthquake impact.